even if it's digital, it's still very real. And now it allows them to control it and to have ownership and other monetization opportunities that didn't exist before.
The new term that they're trying to push for that segment of NFTs.
Let me guess. Digital assets.
No, I think that's more on the finance side. Crypto art.
Crypto art.
Right. Which is just, the same thing
as art.
Yeah.
Did you go to the gallery? Did you see that part in the gallery where they had
across the street?
Right across the street.
I didn't see it. I saw the building.
Yeah, I went in and there were few artists. There was like one asset manager, I think, and the one that I saw anyway. And then there was several artists on stage, and they were talking about how they have more control over their art.
Yeah.
And they, and I'm still not quite sure that I understand exactly how that benefits.
Like the art?
Yeah, how that benefits. Like if you're a musician and you have your music, you own your music on the blockchain, other than people buying it, but also are the radio stations going to play it? How does this?
Right.
So it's all about two things when it comes to art: provenance and residuals.
Right, and I get provenance on traditional art, for sure.
Yeah.
Well,
but there's a lot of art out there that I bought in garage sales that aren't really worth a whole heck of a lot, too. So there's going to be a lot of NFTs out there that.
Well, so here's the thing, right? If you got two things at play, right? There has never been since the birth of the internet a way to, in a decentralized way, to enforce a move not copy copyright scheme.
Yeah.
Like Napster broke the internet, broke music when it said you can copy whatever you want. Actually, that had been broken years before when the file system was invented, but Napster was the one that exploited it.
Yeah.
But NFTs offer potentially a way to have a move not copy operation, right? Especially when it comes to a large block file asset. Like with like a lot of the artwork that you see on NFTs, you can always just download. You can copy paste it or whatever, but you still there's certain functions within NFTs that will allow you to embed a larger file that you only have access to if you own the NFT.
Right.
So there are several marketplaces for music that have been trying to develop, a following, and part of it is hindered by the UX issues of blockchain, of basically a Spotify or a iTunes where the music is in an NFT.
Yeah.
And you actually do have enforced move not copy. So you can purchase something and you actually own a unique version of that could be, signed and numbered and not transferable or transferable depending upon the wishes of the artist.
Well, I think like a big thing with the art thing is that before you even get into like the monetization and how it helps artists, I think like when it all happened, like a year in 2021 and the bull run happened, I think it just gave artists, it put artists back on the map, right? Like artists are kind of, anyone who wants to be an artist, they say, oh, it's not a real career or this or that. And I think when the NFT run happened at first, it gave a lot of attention to that. And then it opened that door of, okay, now we own it in a different way. Now what Mark was saying with the copying and the way you move the files it's fundamentally different. And eventually once it all is adopted by the masses, right, that's going to be the new normal. That's going to be the way we just interact with art or music or videos. It's all going to be NFTs. Now, what does that look like at the end of the day? And what are the true benefits? Where's their true utility? I think that's still being figured out now. But I do think that it has fundamentally changed the way artists have opportunities, the way they can control their rights and their actual assets. Because these are assets. They're intangible, yes. But to an artist who's spending all their time making this art piece or this music, that's real to them. And even if it's digital, it's still very real. And now it allows them to control it and to have ownership and other monetization opportunities that didn't exist before.
Well, it's also a way to build and corral your community without having to rely on a centralized platform.
It just opened a new door that didn't exist before,
Right.
Can I walk this back for a minute?
Sure.
Please.
So I'm a big fan of, making efficiencies and making money, right?
Sure.
I'm not naive enough to think that the world doesn't revolve around fear and greed.
Yeah.
Right. My concern here has to do with, again, I understand, and perhaps it's the cutting edge, and people's feelings are the reason that they want to do art and they want to own it and they want to ship it. They want to do that. I like the use cases instead of that part of it. More like if you're a rock band, and I used to be the generation where we'd wake up super early and go camp in front of Sears for 2 days so we could
Just
go
to get
see
the
Motley
album.
Crue.
Yeah.
Right. And then we'd get like 4 tickets instead of 2, and then I'd sell 2 to somebody else. But the band never got any money from that. Right.
Yeah.
They didn't get the step up in basis. And so
Right.
now I know that I think an NFT of tickets is actually fascinating, right? Because every time that gets transferred from one wall to another, they can get a cut.
Yeah.
Same thing with
Well, the royalties is the
Yeah.
big thing for
yeah,
sure.
Yeah. So I get that. But quite frankly, and let's be clear, I go to the symphony orchestra. I'm going to see Carmina Burana coming up here soon. I love the arts,
Yeah.
but I don't own a lot of art. And I think that a lot of people that are worried about the provenance, they're going to figure that part of it out too. You know, I don't see that everybody that is very capable at creating art online is going to be successful at it.
For sure.
Right.
And that doesn't mean just
So-
because this technology enables that doesn't mean they're going to be, right?
Yeah, you could be the first person that did it and sell your NFT for, of the Bored Apes for, more than
Yeah.
you ever expected,
Yeah.
or take pictures of a frog in 3 different settings and then sell that as an NFT.
But here's
It's
what
working.
here's
but
where the
is it
case
gonna hold
studies
its
do
value?
support the case studies do support that it is bringing more freedom to artists. And I can point to artists like Eclectic Method, who's like a remix artist, or another one by the name of Shepard Fairey, who you may know more famously as the guy that did the Hope poster for Obama and the Obey and the Andre the
okay.
Giant Has a Posse.
Sure,
Yeah.
yeah.
Artists like this, specifically, not in general, but specifically those two, made most of their money doing commissions based on the famousness of previous artwork they've done.
Right.
Since the advent of the NFT revolution, these one-of-one artists
Yep.
are able to sell directly to fans. And yes, some of them still do some commissions, but they don't have to rely on commissions to eat. They can
Right.
directly
Now,
connect.
It
with
opened
those-
that new door.
Now, keep in mind, what we're talking about is tightening monetary policy. And what happens when people are worried about feeding themselves and their family? They stop spending money on things that are non-essential, right?
Sure.
And granted, we have had an explosion in M1, right? I mean, they had to because of COVID. There's a ton of money out there. And this goes back to that question you were having before. Over 20 years ago, people were used to the markets fluctuating and interest rates being all over the place, somewhere in the 3 to 5%, munis at 6%. We didn't have 30% a year forever like we've
Right.
had lately, and that's because we've had so much monetary policy. And now they're pulling that out. That liquidity is coming out of the system. And the problem is, for the past 20 years, no one has seen that market. And so it's reverting again to the mean, and you're going to start seeing a lot more struggle. And with that struggle, you're going to have a lot of people that actually are in these industries that actually feel entitled that, why isn't anyone buying my art? Well, because there's no art, no one's buying art.
But okay, so think back to more than 20 years ago in the music industry. Who made all the money?
yeah, the labels.
The labels.
Sure.
Right. Those labels don't exist anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so there is a whole lot more money floating around that can go directly to artists if they're able to directly interface with these fans. And that's what blockchain and that's what a lot of these like democratizing tools in social media allow them to do.
And to your point, though, like that entitlement, I mean, that's just such a flaw. Like that's, as an individual, if you are at a point where you're so entitled that you're like, why are people not buying my art? That's just ignorance. I mean, the world works a certain way,
Yeah,
whether
yeah.
you like it or not. And,
As I said, I'm a huge fan of anything that you got to get them hooked on the candy, right? Like
Yeah.
if I'm watching something on Netflix that they actually created, or they have these different windows, let's say, you're moving it from Netflix over to Amazon and so on and so forth. And they, depending on who it is that actually owns the rights to that title at that moment, they get paid. Now, how do they get paid? Right? It's my understanding that you have to watch it for a specific amount of time before they get any
yeah.
part of it. But then when do you get paid out? Maybe a month or
Months
2 months
later.
later. Well, guess what? we have this technology that allows you to say, we watched it right now, pay me.
Right.
That is fascinating.
And
That I
micropayments.
like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like every view, theoretically, if it's been, more than 30 seconds, you can get that payment,
Is this level? It doesn't matter. Hey, I was acting. Yeah. Hey, thanks for watching.